once again, 8 minutes downside 7. It is Citizen FM 93.7. This is the Super Citizen at Sunrise show. My name is Kemi Asekun. My loved ones call me Kem, and I like it that way. Of course, today is the 17th day in the month of October. The year is 2022. Today on the Super Citizen headlines, of course, I am not alone as usual. I have in the studio with me.
My name is Lawrence Umoette.
Good to have you on the show this morning, Lawrence. How was your weekend, by the way?
Beautiful. Same here, Kem.
Well, you look very well rested.
Well,
we shouldn't give you weekends off anymore.
Okay.
How's the family, by the way?
Well, to God be all the glory.
Absolutely. Okay, Lawrence, over the weekend there was quite a lot, and it's actually what is the major on the headlines this morning. But before we go to that, let's quickly take a look at some of the things that happened over the weekend. First of all, Batins changed hands in Ekiti State. Governor Kade Fahimi, ex-governor Kade Fahimi, has stepped down, because we won't call it stepped aside, or we call it step up, and there's stepped away. Yeah, that's a good one. And there's a new sheriff in town in Ekiti State in the person of Governor Biodun Oyebanji. Okay, that happened. Was it Saturday or Sunday? No, I think I mixed it up. But then there's a new governor in Ekiti State. I don't know, Lawrence. What do you think?
I think that's the beauty of democracy. You finish your term, you leave the stage, another one continues. Government is a continuum. Whatever it is that the new governor will meet in place, he inherits all the assets and liability of Ekiti State. And
as a matter of fact, he has actually freezed all the state's account. I saw that in the news this morning to say all state accounts have been frozen and civil servants have been warned not to play hanky-panky.
Every governor or every leader who comes in would have his own style of leadership. Maybe he's trying to check the books before he moves on, but we hope that stuff like that doesn't get distracted too much with stuff like that. And there's every reason to ensure accountability and stuff in governance. But we wish him well, and we also wish the former governor well, life as an ordinary citizen, so to speak. But for him, it's not a new experience. Don't forget that he lost his office after his first term, and he came back for a second term. So I'm sure he's used to being in office. Out of office.
Well, I would give a thing or two to see how the Thanksgiving service of both the outgoing governor and the incoming governor looks like in recent times, because the one of Governor Soludo and his predecessor is still very fresh in my mind. Every time I think about that picture, I remind myself that current champion is what we always have, never a permanent champion.
Exactly. And circles of friends, and you now see that some friends or some people the former governor thought were friends. He will suddenly realize that they were friends of the governor of Ekiti State and not the friends of
Mr. Kade Fahimi, Dr. Kade Fahimi.
Exactly, And I remember one past former leader somewhere who said that life outside power can be very cold and lonely.
And then the truth is, I also think that it may not be that way if you do everything. One of the things we're talking about in motivation today is to ignore titles, ignore power. Yes, you can have it, but don't be carried away by it, because there is that tendency to get drawn and sucked into it, and it can actually create a lot of problems for one in the near future, because sycophants abound in this part of the world.
They abound everywhere. Anywhere there is power, they are attracted to power. All over the place. So it's for you to be. It's not easy
to be complete in yourself.
Exactly, especially if you are in power for a long time. After a while, you get sucked in by these sycophants.
That reminds me about what one of those who's contesting with a party once said on a video that I watched, and he's the number 2 man for that party, and he said something in the Senate that we must remember that the amount of time we will spend in power is a whole is a whole lot shorter than the amount of time we will spend out of power, and so we must do right by the people.
Exactly.
Okay, so we move on from that now. There's another big story that was really in the media space in the course of the weekend, but then it's on the daily, so we won't get to that until we take this one from premiumtimesng.com. And here is what it says here: alleged 36 billion naira fraud. Ex-Jigawa governor not acquitted will return to court, says the EFCC. The EFCC said it considers the ruling another delay in the 15-year trial and will return to court to conclude the case. Taking a look at that story, you would recall that I think it was Friday that we did bring that story of how a case had taken 15 years to get to where it had gotten to, and then it was erroneously reported as discharged and acquitted. But from what the EFCC is saying, it was not acquitted, and it says, let me just take a look at how Premium Times puts it. It says the Economic and Financial Crime Commission, EFCC, said the High Court dismissal of its 36 billion naira fraud case against the former governor of Jigawa State, Saminu Turaki, was not an acquittal, and that it will return to court to continue with the trial. A federal high court in Dutse, Jigawa, on Thursday struck out the 32-count corruption case against Mr. Turaki for lack of diligent prosecution by the EFCC. The judge, Hassan Dikio, said the EFCC should do the needful when it's ready to proceed with the case. In a statement denying it has been absent from the case, the EFCC vowed to prosecute the case. Again, the October 13, 2022 ruling of the Federal High Court did say striking out the money laundering charges brought against Saminu Turaki, former governor of Jigawa State, by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, does not amount to an acquittal. Lawrence.
Well, Kemi, I think I'm becoming very uncomfortable with media reports of court cases. I don't know whether we will now have to be relying on the certified true copy of the court judgment before we now know what it is. That's
a good angle.
Remember the case of Nnamdi Kanu. You know, the initial report that came out that day, that afternoon, was that Nnamdi Kanu had been discharged and acquitted. It was later before we now got
discharged and not acquitted.
That he was discharged. And I remember also when we were discussing that story, this Turaki story, we also read that day that he was discharged and acquitted.
Yes, that was how it was put in the report.
And you know, for a court reporter, you should know the basics of court reporting. In fact, it's what do you call it, reporting 101. That you know that there is a whole world of difference between discharged and acquitted. I understand. And for some people who've been around long enough, especially during the military era, you know, when the courts will discharge someone and they will wait at the gate and pick you up. And that was how the courts now decide to say, okay, this person was not only discharged, he has been discharged and acquitted. So he cannot be picked up for that same offense again. But if somebody is just discharged, it means that the charges can be brought back later at a later date and stuff like that. So I think that we should really be mindful. Maybe, and it would not be nice, because sometimes when these cases or these judgments are made, you don't get the court's judgment immediately.
Okay, well, that's it for that one. We take a look at other stories now, and this one here is talking about Nnamdi Kanu, the judgment. It says, release Nnamdi Kanu first. IPOB lawyer replies Malami. The Nigerian government said it won't release the IPOB leader despite a court judgment which ordered his release. A lawyer, Ejimako, special counsel to the leader of outlawed IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, has faulted the position of the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, on the court judgment ordering the release of the IPOB leader. Okay, we'll move on from that now to take a look at another story still related to the Nnamdi Kanu case, where it says our plan for Nnamdi Kanu still under review. Nigerian government insists. The Nigerian government insists the IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu was discharged and not acquitted by the Court of Appeal. The Nigerian government has again indicated that it's not yet ready to release Nnamdi Kanu over 24 hours after the Court of Appeal in Abuja freed him. Addressing journalists after a national security meeting in Abuja on Friday, the Minister of Police Affairs, Mohammed Dingyadi, said the government was still reviewing the court's decision before taking a position on it. Lawrence, you want to quickly take a look at that?
Well, I think whatever position the government wants to take, there are processes. The government can either appeal that judgment, and if it's not ready to appeal, it's a different thing to say we are going to appeal. We are going to appeal does not amount to an appeal. And everyone knows what the Attorney General of the Federation knows what an appeal is, because it doesn't speak well of us to just say we are not. I know they may not have said that, but the way the media is conveyed, we are not going to release him in defiance of the court order.
Okay, let's move on from that. But you are listening to Citizen FM 93.7. It is 19 minutes downside 7. You're listening to Citizen FM 93.7. This is the Super Citizen at sunrise. And my name is Kemi Asekun,
And my name is Lawrence Umoette.
And this is the this is the Super Citizen headlines, and we're taking a look at the headlines this morning. Okay, we move on from all of that now and take a look at good news for Ekiti people. Good and cheering news for Ekiti people. And I see a picture here of the Ekiti State ex-governor, the Minister of Aviation, and of course the Ekiti State ex-governor's wife. That sounds so odd. And here it talks about the first aircraft landing as Ekiti opens a new airport. The first aircraft, ATR-42 Nigerian Air Force plane, landed at the airport's runway at exactly 10:20 a.m. yesterday.
Well, that's a good one for Ekiti State. And is it, Kemi?
Just before the inauguration.
Exactly. By now, Kemi, we should have gotten to a stage in which all our states have airports, airstrips, and so.
You know,
many things.
incidentally, Lawrence, I used to think that why do we have so many airports? Until one day I listened to the Minister of Aviation, Mr. Adisirika, Honorable Adisirika. You know, I listened to him, and he was explaining what an airport could actually do for a state. And you probably people should go and look up that interview. It's from NTA, okay, and it was mind blowing. You know, you could even have the airport like a excursion center. You could have it as a free trade zone for states that have a lot of agro produce. With all the jackpine that is happening now, people will start looking for pepper. So if a state like Jigawa now has an airport or something, we just carry all the produce and go and give it to them over there so they don't miss Nigeria too much. Okay, we move on from that now to take a look at what went down in Osun State over the weekend. And it says here, according to PremiumTimesNG.com, voter apathy greets Osun local government elections. And the election is holding barely 1 month before the end of Governor Itola's administration. And it says a general apathy by residents of Osun across the 33 local government areas on Saturday marred the ongoing council elections in the state. Lawrence, what's your take?
Well, I'm not surprised because of the controversy that trailed the election before it was held, and it's not likely to end soon. After the election, we're still going to hear about this, but I won't be surprised with the outcome of that election.
Well, in truth, I think last week there was something saying that it was only one party that will be, contesting that elections. But I think more importantly, Lawrence, it also says a lot about how we as citizens view local government elections. Right? Because in truth, this is not the first time you have voter apathy when local government elections are being conducted. It appears that we would rather pay attention to the state, the federal, and very little attention to the local government. And I think it also would have to do with the local government autonomy bill, because if people know that they can focus more, they can pay more attention on the people they're voting for in their locality, you would have more interest in these elections.
Yeah, you're right, Kemi, but it also shows that people do not have